Everybody's ready for the SummerSlam. Remember when Bret Hart used to say that? He'd be talking about SummerSlam, but he'd put the word "the" in front of it, and you'd be like, Bret, what are you doing? It's just called SummerSlam. No one says the WrestleMania, so why are you doing this? But he's like one of the best ever, so he can do whatever the hell he wants. But it is time for the 2020 iteration of the hottest show of the summer. I don't know about you, but I am pretty pumped. It's an interesting card, it's an intriguing card, and who the hell really knows what's going to happen. I will now point out that I'm recording this before SmackDown. Some people get confused, so I don't know about Thunderdome, and I don't know about what they're going to do on that show, but I will still predict my heart out, and I expect you to do the same thing in the comments. Let's go. We will start with the match between Apollo Crews and MVP for the United States title, with Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley banned from ringside. Now, I'm sure somehow they're going to sneak out and do something, but really, given everything we did see on Raw, and because it's quite clear Bobby Lashley is going to be the next contender for that championship, well, let's just be smart and have Apollo win. Because MVP doesn't need to win. MVP wasn't even meant to be an active wrestler when he re-signed with WWE. He was going to do a couple of matches and then take on a producer role, and he even signed a new contract over the last few weeks and now go, hey, he can be a professional wrestler instead. And I'm more than happy with this. I think Umvup, as he's also known, is absolutely brilliant, but he shouldn't be beating guys like Crews. Let's face it, Apollo Crews has been beaten enough. MVP can even have an excuse if his buddies from the Hurt Business don't actually come down to Rick's side, and who knows, maybe Retribution are going to do something here. I mean, MVP kept going on and on and on about them on Raw. Maybe that was a little bit of a tease. But again, yeah, Bobby Lashley, he had a visual pinfall over Apollo, so he can now claim that he wants this championship, and it makes sense. But before that, Crews just has to beat MVP. Do it easy, do it clean, let him win with that spinny powerbomb thing that he now does. That's fine. I'll be happy, you'll be happy, everyone will be happy, including MVP, because you don't know, wrestling's a work, he will want this guy to shine. Don't tell anyone. The Raw Tag Team titles are also on the line as the Street Profits are taking on Andrade and Angel Garza, who are obviously guilty by association, given that they are friends with the now known poisoner, Zelina Vega. What a piece of trash. Now, you've got to figure that Zelina and Bianca Belair will get into some kind of fisticuffs here, and I'm kind of amazed we don't have that match. Maybe it gets added to the pre-show or something. I know we saw it on TV recently, but just do it again. But if you actually track all of this, I don't think it's time for Andrade and Angel Garza to win the championship belts. I don't really still think the Street Profits have been given a good fair whack of the stick. Keep it on Montez Ford and keep it on Angelo Dawkins, especially Ford. What a crappy month he's had. He got poisoned. Surely there has to be some kind of fallout with this poisoning as well, because when Andrade and Angel did find out, they were like, well, that doesn't seem very cool. I can't believe she did it. So look, you can now break these two up properly, have them go into a singles feud. One of them actually thinks Zelina Vega should have done this, the other one doesn't, and it all depends on who you want to be the heel and who you want to be the face. I kind of think that maybe Andrade could be the face because Angel Garza's like cheating on all these women with the other women and Charlie Caruso and that person from The Bachelor. I understand that we should be focusing more on the Raw Tag Team titles, but this is my point. Get this feud over and done with, give the Street Profits proper teams that they can have programs with, and everything is going to be okay. I do, however, think it will be a very good match. Things then get serious because the SmackDown Women's Championship is going to be up for grabs as Bayley takes on Asuka in Asuka's first match of the evening, because of course she's having two. She's the Empress of Tomorrow and she's an absolute warrior. All of this is going to tie into whatever the hell the plan is with Sasha Banks later, but I've been thinking about this a lot, and surely it has to go this way. Asuka loses to Bayley here because Sasha Banks does something to just be a massive dick. I mean, that's what the golden role models are. She comes out, she causes the distraction. I haven't got my sign if you watch Ups and Downs. That allows Bayley probably to do the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. 1, 2, 3, Asuka is pissed, Bales doesn't care, she's still got the gold. However, later on, Bayley then comes out trying to do the same thing to Sasha, but because she's a moron, because she's a buffoon, she screws up. That allows Asuka to lock on the Asuka lock or do whatever the hell you want. Sasha Banks taps out, she loses her title, Asuka has hers, she can then go on to feud with Shayna Baszler that's been massively hinted, and we just make more of these little teases and these little digs that Sasha Banks and Bayley are about to break up. Their friendship is dead. At least that's what I would do. That's what I would do. Now that we have Thunderdome, you know, you can probably get to your match between Sasha and Bayley that may be earlier than you were expecting, because at least there'll be some kind of fan interaction there. I've just realised I predicted 2 matches, but hey ho, what are you going to do? So Asuka walks away as the Raw Women's Champion, and Bayley walks away as the SmackDown one, but we're all the winners because Asuka is great. I know it would be awesome if other women had opportunity, and I hope that happens now, but I love Asuka with all my heart, and I wish her nothing but the best. In one of the more crazier matchups in 2020, Rey Mysterio's son Dominik is also going to have his WWE and I suppose professional wrestling debut against none other than Seth Rollins. Hands up who saw this coming back in, say, January. Hands go down, you didn't think it was possible. Now, there is many ways that this can go, but surely the one we all want is that Dominik actually turns on his dad, turns on Pepe, turns on Papa, because he didn't see it coming, because he's only got one eye, and actually join Seth's cult. And I think that's massively needed for the narrative, because let's face it, Rollins' group is a little bit crap now. He's lost so many members, he hasn't recruited any more, so it's just him and Buddy Murphy walking around going, oh, this greater good is the greater good. And everyone else is like, is it Seth? Is it really? Or are you and your doofus friend just being a couple of assholes? And they are. Don't forget what they did to Dominik when they smacked the crap out of him. And if you're now going, well, yeah, exactly, Simon, that's why this wouldn't make no sense. Come on now. What's the first thing what would happen if you got brainwashed by a cult like this? You would buy into this idea, oh yeah, the leader has to beat me because I deserve it, or some crazy thing. There's been worse. I've seen documentaries on Netflix. It would also make you feel absolutely tragically sorry for Rey Mysterio, and he's the greatest babyface ever, so why not give him more of that? And it means we could have a badass program between Seth Rollins, between Dominik, between Rey Mysterio, and then Murphy is just off in the corner. And I love Murphy, I think they should do more with him, but I just know how WWE sometimes operates. Failing that, if we're not gonna do any kind of shenanigans, I don't think that Seth Rollins should lose to Dominik this early in his career, unless of course Rey is gonna get involved in some really badass spots. But I'm excited about this, I'm intrigued, but I will say that Seth Rollins wins. Hopefully I've given you enough fantasy booking to last a lifetime. Seth walks away as the victor. We're also gonna get Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in a hair versus hair match, and I'm giving these two a round of applause. Nice and simple, makes all the sense in the world, they've got my intrigue. I assume that Sonya Deville is gonna lose her hair, but that's okay. But it's been brilliant, well done. I suppose you could shave Mandy Rose's hair and that would be cool, but I think it works so much better for Sonya Deville because she's got that real background where she's a fighter and she can kick your ass. And then maybe you could even send her to Raw Underground and everyone's like, well, I'm not gonna mess with her because not only do I know that she could beat me up for real, but look at the lady, she is absolutely intimidating in a good way. You also get to see Mandy, who has had her whole life made a living hell by Sonya, finally get her revenge, and that's what wrestling is meant to be about. You remember Vincent Kennedy McMahon, oh, her to put smiles on people's faces. Well, that would put a smile on my face. And also, finally, after all this time, we're getting hair versus hair. Braun Strowman shaved his head recently, Baron Corbin shaved his head back in the day. This is all I want, because I had a hair versus hair match, and look, it never grew back. We then move on to our top men's titles, and we'll start with The Fiend versus Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. And the big question is, does Alexa Bliss get involved? And surely the answer has to be yes. If she doesn't, what the hell have we been doing? I've also seen a few things online with some people coming up with the most crazy concepts here, saying, well, the reason Braun Strowman is being this way is because the Fiend has infected his soul, and the real soul of Braun Strowman is in the Fiend's body, which is why when the Fiend came out on SmackDown, he was trying to protect Alexa Bliss, whereas Braun has gone back to being the monster. I mean, if that is the case, my word, is WWE gonna have their work cut out of them trying to explain it, but I appreciate your creativity. Ultimately though, I do think we have to look to the future, and putting both my hands up and being honest, I don't think Braun Strowman has been that great of a Universal Champion. Maybe he needed better feuds, maybe he needed to be more of the monster that he's now become, but I am happy and I am ready to give it back to Bray Wyatt and come up with a new person for him to have a feud with, and the answer there, as we already know, is Big E. I mean it, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think at Survivor Series, Big E should beat The Fiend for the Universal title. We get on the Big E boat and we ride it all the way to Universal Title Town. On the subject of Big E, I assume he's going to face Sheamus, and of course you've already figured this out, he should win there as well. But just to wrap it up in a nice package, Big E wins, The Fiend wins, Alexa Bliss does something, who knows, maybe she's in that interview when she's like, I don't love Braun Strowman, but maybe I do love him. You know, less of that the better, but whatever. Fiend, he champ. Big E, he's not champ, but should be champ November. Yeah. And we finish off with the true main event, which of course is going to be Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. And I just want to say, I think this is brilliant. I truly mean it. We have a matchup here where if Drew McIntyre wins, I'll be fine with it. And if Randy Orton wins, I'll be fine with it. And I'll be massively excited about what is next for both guys as long as WWE has a smart plan. I was about to give it an up. That's the wrong show. But really, you can look at it both ways. Let's say that McIntyre beats the flipping Viper. Well, that's the biggest scalp he's got to date. If we continue to book him like a strong babyface, you're only going to love him more as champion. But if Randy wins, what a fantastic way to say, hey, remember how great I've been over the last few months? Well, now I'm the flipping champion. Who's gonna stop me? And the answer, of course, should be Drew McIntyre. He should find a way to reclaim that, hopefully when there's fans back in the arena, so he can finally get that massive reaction. But listen to how good all this stuff is, and that is all on the shoulders of the performers, but also WWE. There is one small swerve that we do have to talk about, because everybody else is, and that is that maybe Ric Flair was in on this, and it's a ruse, hence why all the lights went out, and we never actually saw Randy punt him in the head. Now, I'm still 99% sure we did that because Flair is like 702 years old and we got to treat him like cotton wool. But if you do want to do that, I'm not going to hate it, because who's the dirtiest player in the game? Ric Flair. And who would this protect? Drew McIntyre. Oh my gosh, it's ticking the boxes. My only big request, WWE, is that please treat Drew McIntyre like $1 million if he is going to lose his title coming out on the other side. Because never forget, after Stone Cold Steve Austin had won his worst world championship in April, he lost it in September, and we had a plan for him. So it was fine. So it's okay if Drew does loses, as long as we know where we're going. Just realized I didn't actually predict there. I just said everybody's name. Going with Randy Orton. And there's a couple of other matches that may happen, so I'm going to try and stay ahead of WWE because they always get me. I think even though we are getting Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles on SmackDown, they may do a rematch here, so I'll say AJ Styles win that one. And of course, we may get Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro taking on the Lucha House Party for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Cesaro and Nakamura will win. And there you go, that's that. That's my SummerSlam 2020 predictions. I am hyped and I'm pumped for the show, and I can't wait for Thunderdome, and I mean that from the bottom of my feet. Now, please do leave a comment below. What are your predictions? I want to see what you're thinking. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read articles about SummerSlam. Follow What Culture on Twitter, keep up to date with SummerSlam, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling, especially if they say SummerSlam. My name is Simon for What Culture. You make sure you have a good weekend. You've got plenty of wrestling to watch, let's face it. You've got NXT, you've got AEW, and you've got this event. Enjoy it.